Like certain clubs out here have like a under 1% acceptance rate. You do miss 100% of the shots you don't take. You also end up missing 95% of the shots you do take. And I think my advice for dealing with imposter syndrome is
Arhaan takes 27 units a quarter. That's almost 8 classes worth of CS, data science, and even the math homework every single night. And on top of that, he's also a founder, a venture capital fellow, and sleeps 8 hours every single night. We're not gonna see exactly how he does it, but also how you can be the best version of yourself too.
When did you realize that not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 majors was enough? And what does all of these 5 majors mean to you in unison?
I think I realized 5 majors was the goal sometime around last week when I finally decided to add applied math as my 5th major. And the main reason I'm doing it, right, a lot of people think that I'm just doing for the number of majors or just because I want to get some recognition for it. People don't really understand that these majors are all really adding up together. If you look at the majors I have, right, computer science, business, data science, statistics, and applied math. Apart from business, all of them have a very strong theme. They're all very STEM and CS driven, and that's my goal for these majors. Originally started off as a CS major, and I decided to add business just to get the breadth of knowledge and to get the analytical skills that Haas teaches us out here.
The biggest thing that I've seen is that a lot of students spend time in school, but school isn't the priority. The priority is to network, gain a sense of insight, gain a good career, gain that internship, and then go on to graduate with that full-time job. But to you, it seems like academia is this almost inner passion for yourself. Where do you kind of see that? And what would you say to somebody that maybe doesn't understand or may not even understand academia as a whole?
Right, I'll be very honest with you on this one. Most people that know me know that I don't really value academia that much. Right, for me it's a much deeper thing. For me it's about being better than I could be or I was yesterday. It's being the best possible version of myself, and that's what's pushed me. I really do think that university is far more than just academia or classes. Like people that know me know I rarely show up to my classes. I go to maybe like 2 out of 9 classes a week. I do think that when it comes to college, your number one priority should be your network and gaining those real world skills. That being said, a lot of people have this misconception that classes don't teach you real world skills. That is definitely true for some classes, but most of the classes I have taken have been very applicable to the real world, because at the end of the day, most of the professors, at least out here, have amazing industry connections. So if you want those connections, I think they're a really good way to go about it too.
What does being that best version of yourself look like, and what does the best version of Arhaan look like?
I think the best version of Arhaan looks like the Arhaan that's determined and disciplined, and I know I'm not that for most of the part, but I try my best, right? For me, being the best version of myself is pretty simple. It's getting out of bed every day in the morning at 7 o'clock, especially the days I don't want to, the days I'm not motivated enough to get out of bed, right? And just come here and get to work. At the end of the day, like I had a LinkedIn post on this a few weeks ago, like last week. You can't be motivated every day. Motivation dies out really fast, and it's your discipline that kicks in at that point. That helps you achieve the things you want to achieve. And for me, just building that discipline.
What is that one quote you have in your mind whenever you feel like you're unmotivated, unsatisfied, or just like you feel like you are not at the place where you want to be?
I think, like you said, right, it's that you aren't where you want to be. That's for me is the driving factor, because even when I'm not motivated, I know I'm not where I want to be, and the only way to get to where I want to be is to work to get there, right? And it's something as simple as, physically and metaphorically, really, that, when I'm at home, just on my couch or in bed, I'm definitely not where I need to be or where I want to be, because I'm all alone out there for the most part. Just, I'm wasting my time out there. So the physical act of just, getting out of my house for just even a coffee, right? You go to get a coffee and you end up meeting someone, or you end up running into someone that's just enough to motivate me to get out of the house. And the second I'm out of the house, things start to fall into place. This is something I'm always telling all my friends, that this thing you need to do is just get out of the house, right? The second you're out of your house, things will start falling into place. You will end up doing more than you plan to do.
But as somebody who's done 5 majors, you probably also understand the principle of delegation and determination. So what would your advice be to anyone who is considering entrepreneurship or just considering a self-starter-esque opportunity, an opportunity that allows them to derive ideas and drive those ideas forward, but is just too afraid to start?
I think, if you are afraid to do something, that means you're in exactly the right spot. That probably means you're onto something big, and it scares you. The reason something probably scares you is the fact that A, you are in your comfort zone, or B, the world is against you. And I think, that's where the great ideas are born. No one thought that the computer could be everyday device, right? Steve Jobs did. And look at it today. Again, I know, really bad example. Most of us won't be Steve Jobs. But the principle still applies, right? That, if the world's against you, you're probably onto something. You're probably about to change something really big. When you're in university, that's the best time to actually try to self-start something, try to build on an idea or something along those lines. Just because you have the safety net of university, right? We're still here. We're still going to get our degree. Maybe not with a 4.0, with a 3.0, or 2.0 in like my case.
Don't spend your life chasing butterflies. Build a beautiful garden and the butterflies will come to you. What does that mean in terms of building a better version of yourself, but also building a better community around you?
Deep one, for sure. But I think it's pretty accurate. I do actually like the saying a lot. Instead of chasing butterflies, build a garden. And I think that's pretty applicable to the personal level. It's not just for entrepreneurship or something. This is also your personal life, right? If you want to get a girlfriend, or if you want to make really cool friends around you, or if you want to get that opportunity or that internship, right? If you work on yourself, you build the garden that is yourself, right? Get the skills, you start hitting the gym more frequently, to look better, just to feel more confident, right? Start putting yourself more out there, just, being cooler, right? The cooler you are, the cooler friends you'll attract. Simple as that. The more opportunities will open up to you. So then just building yourself up for that success is really important to get that success. At the end of the day, you aren't going to get a Google internship by making a weather app. You really aren't. The only way you're going to get that Google internship is by grinding on lead code for 10 hours. And that's essentially building the garden that is your mind, right? And the same goes for community, right? It spills over. You first work on yourself. Just your mind should be beautiful, right? The beautiful garden has got me on a tangent on that. But just, build yourself up to be able to attract the people you want in your life. Because at the end of the day, you need to ask yourself, are the people I want to hang out with, or the people I want to attract, the community I want to build around me, would they want someone like me in their community? And that's what you need to ask yourself, and that's what's super important out there.
Being at the number one public university in the world, go Bears, not Bruins. How have you dealt with imposter syndrome, especially with so many talented peers around you who are building, creating, and innovating? How have you dealt with imposter syndrome, and how do you use that to better yourself every day?
Yeah, I think an imposter syndrome is something that everyone I know at Berkeley has dealt with, me included. And this is especially more prevalent the first year we're out here, because you see people who are doing so much, and you're just like, and you're inspired by them for sure, but you also feel like, okay, how did I get in? How do I fit in out here? And what am I supposed to do, right? And I think my advice for dealing with imposter syndrome is meet the people that you are afraid of, the people that you think are doing so well, that's making you doubt yourself. Like, very few people know the story, but my first week at Berkeley, and I was just I was wondering, do I really even belong here? I was struggling with my classes and just I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do. And I met this person called Vedansh Malhotra. He told me that, I did 26 units pain, and he made me see that, okay, I can actually push beyond this. He's the reason I'd be taking all these crazy course loads every semester after semester. But he also taught me that he's just human, And even though he's one of the most crack people I know, he's just human, and he made me see that, and he made me realize that you have to put in the effort, you have to struggle to get where you want to get, and I think that was really helpful for me.
Walk me through your first rejection at Berkeley to how you feel about rejection. How is that coalesced to where it is right now?
The only way to get over this fear, unfortunately, is to get rejected again and again and again. And this is for your personal life and your professional life. And I think the really good thing about Berkeley is the amount of rejection you face. But certain clubs out here have a under 1% acceptance rate. So you get used to seeing the rejections. I definitely wouldn't call it toxic, but I wouldn't stop you from calling it toxic. It's a good one. I think for me, it's all been slightly different.
Where does balance come into play for you, and what does the term balance mean to you as well?
I genuinely believe that, if something is worth having, then you don't need to balance it out with something else. For me, people always talk about work-life balance. Here's my answer to that. I have a 7-day work week, right? I really don't believe in the weekend. That being said, that doesn't mean I'm just working always. You do need to kind of balance things out. I know it sounds contradictory, right, but you need to figure out, how much you can put into certain things, because you need to weigh the pros and cons for that. But trying to balance multiple things is never really the right answer. Figure out the 1 or 2 things you really, really want and go all in on them.
What are your thoughts on obsession and the word obsession? Because some people quite frankly have a very, I want to say, negative approach to that word. To me, in my life, that's just meant that you're willing to give it your all.
I think I have a very, very similar mentality to yours on that. That it's your willingness to give it your all for something. And I think obsession is a very, very good thing. And when you're trying to chase something big worth happening, you need to be obsessed by it. If you aren't really obsessed by it, that just means that you don't believe in it. And that means you aren't going to give it your all, and you are going to fail in that. And the only way to find your obsession is, again, to put yourself out there. I remember the first product I ever built, my grandfather's story, that inspires me to be better every day. Because, this is a person who grew up in a small village in India. Right, none of his siblings were educated. I think once he cleared grade 8, he was the most educated person in the village, from what I remember. Right, grade 8 or grade 9, something on those lines, so not that high. And he wanted to be better, he wanted to grow, he wanted to learn. And he ended up getting a scholarship to go abroad to Imperial University to study. He got a double PhD out there, and he did so many cool things out there. Right, he started teaching at Imperial. He came back to India to set up one of the first private pharma companies of India. right? And like, he built a life and a foundation that's given me a lot to be really thankful for. That's given me a lot of resources and opportunities that he didn't have. And that to me has been very inspirational because he could have been very, very content living a life in India in that village. He might have cleared grade 9, might have just gone on to just get his high school degree, and he would have had a very, very comfortable life in India. He pushed himself, he went out of his comfort zone to create a better life just because he wanted to learn. And that is a very similar thing I have in myself, I think the one thing I am definitely struggling with today is trying to figure out what to do. Because I think we're in an era where, everything is moving so fast. What's going to make sense 10 years from now? And to that, I think one of my mentors, right, Prasanna Shankar, he's the co-founder of Rippling. He told me a few years ago, right, that I think when you're young, the number one thing you should do is be an opportunist. Do what makes sense in the moment for the short period of time, for the next year, 2 years or so, for however long you can see, and try to capitalize on that opportunity and grow from there. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm trying my best, and I'm not thinking like 5-10 years in the future. That's a distant thought for me right now. I'm thinking more for like the next 2 months, 3 months, 5 months, and trying to capitalize the opportunity I can see in that period.
So what is the idea of you miss 100% of the shots you don't take? What does that look like to you?
Pretty self-explanatory in my opinion. You do miss 100% of the shots you don't take. I will say this though, you also end up missing 95% of the shots you do take, and you need to come to peace with that before you can actually start taking those shots. Realistically, right, this is, I think being in the startup space and being inspired by a lot of VCs has shaped my mentality a bit. 99.99% of VC-backed companies fail, but that one company that hits $1 billion, that's what they're out for, right? That's what they're putting all this money down for to so many companies, hoping just one of them becomes worth $1 billion. So again, if you take 100 shots, not all of them need to land, right? Only one of them needs to land. So in trying to figure out the perfect shot, keep on taking shots, and the perfect shot will line up on its own, right? Because if you aren't taking shots, you aren't also getting the skills to take the perfect shot.
You said something that's really stood out, like being empathetic and understanding other people's stories. So what does that impact mean, and what do you want that to become one day?
Figure out why you're doing what you're doing, and after that the how becomes very, very easy when you know the why. People are usually figure out how to do something and then figure out why you're doing it. That's the typical trajectory people have, right? Oh yeah, I need to get into Google or some big firm or like Goldman Sachs, because that's the way things are done. They don't really know why they're doing it for themselves. For me, I've always known why I'm doing whatever I'm doing, and I really don't try to change it that much. The methods around me change, the people around me change sometimes, but the core values remain the same.
Because Arhaan, my last question to you is, what is the one thing that you wish you did differently coming into college?
Just meet a lot more people. When I came to college, I found some really cool people. Started hanging out with them a lot, and kind of restricted myself that way. And later on, a few years on the line, I realized I wish I had met so many more people, because now I do have a lot more free time on my hand these past few weeks, months, and I've been meeting a lot more people. And I just there's so many cool people out there. So don't restrict yourself to the people you like. Trust me, the people you like and that vibe with you, they will stick on. But definitely put yourself out there, meet as many people as you can meet. I think college is the best time to meet people, because everyone's looking to meet more people. Everyone's more than happy to, grab that coffee with you and just discuss things out. And I think to take advantage of that, expand your worldview, because everyone has a very, very different story to tell, and you can learn so much from everyone's stories.
Well, Arhaan, thank you so much for being a part of this, and thank you for doing all that you're doing.
I'm really glad you did. And guys, don't try to fit in, just be yourself and try to be better every day. And trust me, you'll reach where you want to reach in life.